Hello friends, my name is Shivam from DevOps Schools and I will help you to enable your learning process in various technologies of DevOps, artificial intelligence, machine learning, big data and many more. This is our initiative to help you by sharing multiple tutorials and videos. And if you want any specific tutorials or any particular topic, then please do comment in the below comment section and I will help you with it. Also, please subscribe to our premium services on YouTube, which will give you access to more content and videos to enhance your knowledge about all these topics. Also, if you want me to help you with regards to the online trainings and classroom sessions by our qualified trainers, then please do write me at contact@devopsschool.com. Thank you.
So if you see the S3 services, hold on. Right, so if you just close tab. Okay, close tab. Yeah.
Cloudfront is charged?
Yes, Cloudfront is charged.
Vasant, I have a question.
Yes.
So by default, the Cloudfront URL is public, right? Anyone can access the content.
By default, Cloudfront URL is
public. They have the URL.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So how do this media streaming companies restrict this access for logged in users? Is there any option here in the Cloudfront console to restrict it to only logged in users?
Okay. Do we have any options that only logged in users will be able to access the Cloudfront URL, right?
Yeah.
Okay, do we have the option? Let me think. Do we have the option that we can configure that's only, so when you say logged in users, logged in users to the application, right?
Right. It's not AWS login I'm talking about. So for example, Hotstar.
Yeah.
So I assume that Hotstar might be using CDN and they would have the static content distributed all around the world in the content delivery network. But only the Hotstar registered users can access the paid content, right? So there's a login phase. After that, only they will be able to access those content. So if they use Amazon CloudFront, then how do they technically achieve that login phase first, then release the content?
So to access the CloudFront, to access, see, for the CloudFront, I'm not sure what behind the scenes they do it, but to have a CloudFront accessibility to specifically users through the application, they must be maintaining something as a session token where they say that, okay, that what we can do is that in CloudFront distribution, we can restrict people.
See, what I can think of is like they can have an out-of-the-box authentication using some other method, and only after that they'll be able to redirect to the CloudFront URL. That is perfectly fine. But if someone gets to know what is the CloudFront URL, which is by default public, then without the authentication also, are they able to access that URL? So that's what my question.
I think behind the CloudFront, you can include your firewalls, like WAF firewalls, and in the firewalls or a load balancer, you can write such rules which can make sure that the user comes with some token in the request, and then you allow that particular token in the request to have an access to CloudFront.
Even I think for WAF and all, the rules will be again like maybe IP based or geolocation based. I do not think they have the contextual awareness of who is actually logged in.
Yeah. But that can be configured within the load balancers, I believe. No,
we don't need to crack the head, but I was just curious to know how they do this. That's it.
Yeah. No issues, no issues. I'll try to think of it, what can be done on this case.
Sure, no problem.
Oh, and we have for deployment. It's deployed and it's very quickly deployed. So I have a domain. I think there's a restrictions option. Geographical restrictions disable. No. But I think this issue is still the issue which people usually face. Because I think Hotstar has faced this. I have read it out somewhere in the article that Hotstar is facing the stream issues with what if you have a Cloudfront URL, people are hitting the Cloudfront URL and they get an access of it. Like they don't have to sign it up, or for a 10 minutes of stream they were able to access. Are you talking about the same thing? Have you heard that into the news that
No,
there's like 10 minutes
I
of
was not talking about any particular incident. On a general note, I was just thinking about how do they restrict the access to their registered users.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I think I have heard this before us as well, that they are facing this issue. So I'll try to grab this, what we can do in this case or in such a scenario.
Yeah, sure,
Give me
no
time.
problem. Yeah.
Okay, so here we go. We have the CloudFront URL and then the object you want to access of. Because I said HTTP and HTTPS, that's why it's using both. Okay, so if you say only HTTPS, it's gonna use only HTTPS. 349.txt is the file which is there inside an S3 bucket, and that's what the file looks like, and you're going to have an access of it from here. Okay, so that's what the thing is. I just want to quickly disable it as it's a chargeable service. But in your labs, you can do that. You can create distributions. Okay, and if you want to practice, you can create distribution, and then once it's been used, you can disable it. Even though you don't disable it, after 2 hours, it's gonna be refreshing the labs.
Hey viewers, are you looking for formal training on SRE practices? Take our SRE program. This course will teach you how to successfully implement site reliability engineering in the modern day 24/7 services. Kickstart your SRE training today. Contact info is mentioned in the video sidebars and in the description box. Book your seats for the upcoming batches now.
Okay, so let me bring up what else we have. So we talked about S3 bucket, we saw bucket policies, ACL, how we enforce encryptions in S3, cross-region applications, pre-signed URL, how we force S3 to use a CloudFront, what is the retention and lifecycle, how we create a lifecycle of the objects, and so on. So we'll take a pause here on the S3 bucket topics. And we know now that IAM, after an IAM, we have a bucket policy that comes into one picture. And if your bucket policy is not allowing IAM users, then your IAM users cannot do anything. And that's what we saw while we given access to Shivangi, and Shivangi helped us out to understand this concept. So we understood automatically by writing this. So we have a bucket policy, we have a bucket, we know now what bucket is, we know now what ACLs are, we know now what bucket policies are, how we can enforce encryptions on moving data in bucket, how we can enforce CloudFront to be used when you have a S3 bucket storage, how we can use the distribution CDN. Yeah, so those are the parts. I'll take a pause here. If you have any questions on the topics which we talked so far, do let me know. If not, we will move ahead. I'm extremely sorry we didn't get a good amount of break, but I think you did took a break when I was troubleshooting the internet. So And we are going very slow, so I don't think that we need the break, so I didn't give you that one.
Hi Vasant, I have a question.
Yeah.
Suppose there is a web application and there is a requirement to upload files to the S3 bucket, and the users who
Yep.
are uploading the files to S3 bucket are not the users in the AWS account, but they are just users of the web application. So, what needs
Mm-hmm.
to be exposed to the users when they want to upload a file to the S3 bucket? Only access ID or also the secret key? How the web
You don't have
application?
to expose. Yeah, you don't have to expose anything to the users who are the end users. Whenever they will upload it, behind the scene, the code is going to assume the role which has been attached to the application, which has been hosted to EC2 instance. I
Okay.
talked a lot of things all together, right? So 4 things. First, let me separate out every of my statement. Your end users are the part of applications, right? They don't need to know access key and secret key of AWS, as that is what not going to happen for them. The application owner who is writing the code, that means the developer also need not to know the access key and secret key. Okay, so end user is not going to use, developer is not going to know about the access key and secret key. What we are going to do is the administrator or the operation guy. Okay, the operation guy of AWS, what he's going to do is he's going to attach a role which has been created by a security team members. Security team member is going to create a role, and that particular role, the security team member is going to provide a permission that this particular role is allowed to put objects on S3, okay, or get objects or read objects from S3, okay. And after those permission has been provided, the role been handed over to cloud operation team. Now cloud operation team is going to attach that role to the EC2 instance where your application is going to run. Okay. Now, as the application is running on EC2 instance, the developer has to write a code that would say that whatever role has been attached to the EC2 instance must be assumed, and on the basis of that, he puts the object into the S3 bucket. So not your developer is being a part of it, not being an end user being a part of it. Your operation guy only being a part of attach, security guy who will create a role and decide a permission. Okay.
Okay. Okay. But does that role have any attributes like access ID? Or, no, right? Only like what attribute does it?
Yeah, these will be the actions, right? Like these will be the actions. The role must have a permission. For example, if your application is trying to put something, then the role must have a permission of a put object. If the application is trying to read from the bucket, then the role must have a permission called read object. Okay, so it depends on what actions your application is going to take. We give permissions to the role.
Because when pen testing applications, I have seen access ID being exposed, but I don't know why they have exposed that. Like, that's why I just curious.
Yeah, you might have seen that because that's a wrong way of implementation of the code. If you if you don't segregate the duty and you give it an access key and secret key to your developer, then there is a chance, right? They can lose it through the code because they believe that this is a file which has not been accessible by anyone else. So they put it into a file and then they upload that file to a GitHub. In such scenarios or in APIs also where you might have seen that. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. You might have seen that even on when you access some particular APIs through the URL or in the post, you see that access key and secret key has been flowing up, flowing as in the request or as in the response. It goes up like access key, secret key goes in. So that's a wrong way of implementation. The developer has to understand it, right? Instead of giving it to a developer, even you are creating an API gateway, from the point of operations, you can attach the role to the API gateway directly and just let your developer to assume the role. Okay, don't give them access key and secret key. But from the development point of view also, I would say that sometimes it's been required to test it on the local. At that particular time, you can give to them that, okay, you can test it in the local. But after the work has been done, the test role which you have created must be deleted. And you should tell your developer that, okay, your code is going to run on this instances or in this serverless things, which will have a role automatically. You just have to write a code which will assume that role. Okay, and that role will be assumed, and the actions will be taken care on the basis of the assumptions of role, and whatever policies has been attached to the role will perform the action.
Thank you.
Yep.
Vasant, once the objects are deleted from the bucket, are they deleted permanently, or is there any way to retrieve those objects or recover those objects? For example, by
Okay.
mistake, I deleted objects from the bucket. But later I realized that I need the data or the objects. So is there any way in option in the AWS where we can, recover those objects? Or is it permanently deleted?
So when you delete the object, it says permanently deleted. So if you say the permanently delete, it will be deleted permanently. So you won't get
Okay.
it back,
Okay.
right?
Yeah, thank you.
But one thing I would like to, Latha, I would like to say is over here, if we have a version enabled, then we can see the delete marker, the docs.
Hey viewers, trying to get into DevSecOps? Enroll for our DevSecOps certified professional programs and earn the certification that shows you are fit for these technical roles and requirements. Contact info is mentioned in the video sidebars and in the description box. Book your seats for the upcoming batches now.
Did you get the point? Latha, if you have a version enabled, you will be able to grab it. Even if it's permanently deleted. Latha, are you still there?
Yeah, yes. You mean to say if the version is enabled, even if I delete the object, I can get it, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
So I did deleted this file, right? If you see on my object, you won't see the file. But if you list the version, you would see the file is there. And then you see that there is a delete marker.
Yes.
So the
Okay.
if versioning is enabled, you will see that the version files here.
Thank you. Got it.
So can we delete the version enabled doc?
Sorry? Can you delete the
So we have
version?
seen we have enabled the version, and if doc is enabled, yeah.
Okay, see, if you have enabled a version, you will see that the delete marker, or whenever you have upload, if you even have a deleted marker, you will see that the delete marker has been there. But because it's a versioning enabled, you will see the files always there, so that you can, if you want to have an access again, you can have the access to the files. Those are not going to permanently delete. It's just kind of trash. You will keep them into a trash, which is kind of, you can think of as a disadvantage if you want to permanently delete it. So don't enable a version in those buckets where you think that you're going to permanently delete the objects. Okay, Shivangi is asking, sometimes the application disclose bucket name and URL. Suppose any tester have AWS account, then they can access that bucket, and if roles are not configured properly, it can be exploitable. Disclosure of bucket URL is developer mistake only. That's a good question actually. So when any tester have an AWS account, then they can access that bucket, and if roles are going to configure properly, it can be exploitable. Yes, the answer is yes. The roles are not configured properly, it will be exploitable. There are a lot of factors comes into picture, Shivangi, on this. So Shivangi has a question that if application disclose bucket name, which is very much oftenly we see that, and name and URL, yes, we see that. Suppose any tester have AWS account, then can they access that bucket? Depends. First it depends. Okay, if the bucket is public, and ACL has made and ACL has said that everyone can list and read the account. Everyone can list and read the content or write the content on the bucket. ACL, it all depends on ACL, Shivangi. So if ACL says that yes, it will be there, and then definitely yes. The answer is yes for that. If a tester has an AWS account, and then they can access the bucket, but completely depends on the ACL. Okay, and if roles are not configured properly, it can be exploitable. Over here, I would like to put attention. Roles are basically, as I said on a very first day, that roles are the one which allows communication between service to service. Right. The last time which we saw the exploitation in our first session was on the access key and secret key of users. Okay. So if you even have a role, there is a role. Let me think of how much more deep we can go to exploit a role. Yeah, in a trust relationship, you can attach your own account as you'd have that. So answer is yes. If roles are not configured properly, can it be exploitable? Answer is yes. If the bucket name has been exposed, will the bucket will be exploitable? The answer is depends on the ACL. Okay, if access control list is allowing the objects to be publicly readable and listable and writable, then the answer is yes, people can write anything to your public bucket. Okay, disclose. Okay, one other disclose of bucket URL is developer mistake only. Again, the answer depends. The answer is no. If it's completely you are asking for, it's always a mistake of developer. The answer is no. Sometimes your operation team also make mistake, and they make buckets public because of right now the terms has been automation, and people are using CloudFormation or Terraform or infrastructure as a code automation, and when they write the infrastructure as a code automation, sometimes in the code itself they while creating the resource, they make unintentionally bucket as public, and as a result, and this can be disclosed by them as well. So it's not always a mistake of a developer, but it's a mistake of operations and developer both.
But Vasant, a bucket by default is private, right? Unless we go and make it public, it will not be. Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Exactly. Yes. Unless and until you don't do the things. By default, it's denied for everything.
Hey viewers, our Master in DevOps engineering program can help you to hone the skills necessary to succeed in high-level DevOps positions. So, what are you waiting for? Enroll now and earn certification that show you are keeping pace with today's technical roles and requirements. Contact info is mentioned in the video sidebars and in the description box. Book your seats for the upcoming batches now.
Okay, over here you can see my screen. I'll share this document with you as well. What you have to do in your lab is once you're from 2:30, what you have to do is you have to create 3 users, 3 groups, and assign the users to the group. Test your created users and provide them permission on the basis of this, right? You have to create 3 groups. One is S3 support, the other is EC2 support, and the other is EC2 admin. So and you have to create 3 users in 3 groups. In S3 support, the user one has to must have an access only to do a read-only access to Amazon S3. User 2 on the other should be on group 2, where he has an access to read-only access to Amazon EC2. And user 3 you should be able to start and stop any EC2 instances when you are into a group of EC2 admin. Okay, what policies you have to attach, you see it by yourself. Anyway, you stuck, to let me know on this. Okay, that's the task 1. Task 2, you have to create a bucket, upload an object, manage access permission, create a bucket policy, and enforce HTTPS on the object, and you have to enable the bucket versioning. Okay. Task 3, you have to create a source and destination bucket. Like, you have to create 2 buckets. One should be a source, the other should be a destination. And you have to perform the cross-region replication. Okay, both the bucket has to be in different region. I believe you know about that. Anywhere in any of the things, and try to test everything, right? If you're doing a cross-region replication, try to test that if you copy something on source, that should be automatically synced or replicated on destination bucket. Okay. So these are the 3 tasks for now, which you have to do. You have to upload objects. You have to try to check, try to put an image, and then create a bucket policy. You know, and create a bucket policy. And what should be the bucket policy look like? I'll give you an example of that. Hold on. Basically, yeah, you can say that you can create a policy. You can use a policy generator to create a bucket policy and make sure that that the object has been accessible only only through the HTTPS. That's what you have to make sure on the bucket policy. Explore versioning and create a versioning things on that. Okay, on the bucket. So that is the other case. What else I can do? Give me a minute. Yeah, the other task what you can do is try to integrate Cloudfront with this. Also should be the other task you can do is integrate S3 bucket with Cloudfront. Okay, and make a HTML page if you can. That would be too much to ask for. Yeah, I think 4 tasks would be enough to understand the flow of CloudFront and all the things which we have covered so far. So this will be specific to the service and how the service will have a lookalike. Okay, so yep, that way should work. Okay, I believe someone should come up and help you out on what you are facing an issue on. Okay, so meanwhile, someone joins from the IT team. Let's talk about the other things. Like, let's talk about Web Identity Federation in Cognito mode. What is Cognito and Web Identity Federation, which is also a part of IAM, right? And once we finish that, then we'll include that practical as well so that you will be able to see those practicals. Anywhere you face issue, do let me know. But let's talk about what is Web Identity Federation, and then we'll talk about what is Cognito, okay? So, all right, so then we'll do the labs later on. Okay, so we have enough time, 14 minutes. So we'll just talk about Identity Federation, what is Web Identity Federation, and then we'll see Cognito a little bit about. Okay, so yep. Okay, so we'll be talking here about what is Web Identity Federation, first of all. So Web Identity Federation is when you verify or you authenticate the user on the basis of a web identity providers. Like for an example, you might have seen on many of the sites where you go and they ask you to do a sign up or do a login from your existing Gmail, Facebook account. All right, and if you say that you have a Facebook account, you have a Gmail account, and instead of a sign up, you will be signed in as the one which you have an account on Facebook or Gmail. That is where the Web Identity Federation came into the picture. Web Identity Federation is basically authenticate the users from the set of from the web identity provider. Okay, so Web Identity Federation, it gives your user access to AWS resources after they have successfully authenticated with a web-based identity provider.
Thanks for watching. Want to study further? Join our training programs today.